Hello everyone, welcome back. As you can see, there was a mod update that added or updated some of the textures. I'm probably gonna have to look into probably getting rid of it again, because as you can see, it is causing some issues. Now, if anyone knows of a way to fix that, I would love to know. For now, since we are already here, I'm going to minimize that out, and we will get back to what we were working on. Now, I don't believe we had any active missions. Let me just double check, make sure we didn't have any craziness going on with the with our orbits or anything of that nature. I know we were looking to up our what was it called? We were looking to up our comms capability. That way we can start sending stuff to Duna a lot easier. Hopefully we'll be able to do that shortly. I believe we have to deorbit this debris. So this should give us a second to kind of see how everything's working, if it is working the way it's supposed to. Like, it definitely looks pretty. Okay, kind of has us locked out of the controls, so I'm gonna have to kind of hope that this deorbits relatively quickly. Right now, it has a very, very high orbit. That's weird. And this is what happens, folks, when you update mods without reading what they plan to update on you. Not bad though. It does make the planet look prettier. I'm definitely gonna hope that a lot of the other planets are behaving the way they're supposed to. I know it did give me quite a few warnings when I loaded it up, which is kind of an issue in and of itself, because as some of the more astute viewers know, I am using, I believe it is CCon or CChan, or what is it, Chan? I don't know. But it's the KSP mod loader, which, at least in theory, should prevent those issues, but, you know, doesn't mean it will always prevent those issues. Okay, we are on a bit of a orbital slow, since we are coming out of the atmosphere. That's interesting. I'm assuming it broke some of the trait symbol things. Hmm. That's interesting. Okay, let's swing around the planet. See if this is gonna have us landing anywhere near where we want to be. Didn't know there were two sets of debris, but I guess there's always stuff I could have easily missed. I do like that I know it's there somewhere, but I'm not going to be able to find it. Got my Mimbus. If only I can land on it and do discovery. But that's something that, as far as I'm aware, is kind of realistic. Because when you're out here, even though there's not really anything out here, it is very, very difficult to pick up something small from a distance. Just because everything kind of fades into the dust of the background unless it is very large. Like stars and things of that nature. Like, the only reason I know that's Mimbus is, one, it tells me. Something blew up. And two, so while I wouldn't know it was Mimbus, I would know that's something, because it is much brighter. It does appear to be closer. I'm surprised it's not getting lower as a periapse, but makes sense. I was waiting for something to pop, causing this to spiral out of control. Okay, let's speed up time because it doesn't really change a whole lot. We'll probably be dropping in on the next pass. Especially with us dipping that low into the atmosphere. Okay, we'll wait for transition over. And change our warp over. Boom. There we go. See if I can tell what exploded. We know something exploded. I feel like I'm missing it. Must have been something else just sitting on the peripherally. I'm just gonna stop attempting to say that because I'm obviously having way too hard of a time with it. But something sitting on the outside. Coupler, bearing, or SAS module, advanced reaction wheel. Trying to figure out why this doesn't have roll. I guess I must have jettisoned it too early, and that let it get stuck up in the atmosphere. Oh yeah, it's coming down. Now I wish it would just come down automatically so we didn't have to sit through it, but there's really not a lot I can do about that. I'm also relatively surprised that it found itself a stable descent orbit. Or, not orbit, but a stable descent pattern, because I would have thought this thing would be flipping and flying all over the place. Camera angle change, that means we've officially, yep, dropped into entry. Now the problem is we are still going way too fast for the parachutes to engage. However, at this angle, we should slow down quite a bit as we enter the lower atmospheres, which should give the parachutes a little bit of time to engage. Potentially a lot of time, depending on how quickly it decelerates, or more specifically, accelerates in the retrograde direction. Smoke effects and everything. Still haven't dropped below the 2 km/s mark. For those of you who don't know, that is a ridiculous amount of speed. Well, our atmosphere is dropping quite significantly, but until we get a little bit slower, those parachutes aren't going to deploy. We are slowing down enough, though. We shouldn't be careening into the abyss of the desert, but actually, I don't even think we technically classify it. Oh, yeah, desert. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we're gonna come down relatively somewhere like there. There you go. Our parachutes aren't gonna engage until the 1 kilometer mark, so we're gonna let it play out. Hopefully, because we don't have any drogues on there, we're not gonna run into any issues. We just have to make sure that we do slow the time warp. Boom, and extreme slowdown. And oh look, our purple friend. Definitely something that somebody knows how to fix. I just don't know how. Going to try not looking at it, just because I know some people have a hard time with the flashing lights. Don't want it to be a problem for people. And of course, it makes it in such a way that I can't do anything but. Oof, that's problematic. Okay, let me see. Why is that a word and not? You guys saw that, right? Hmm. Okay. Let's take a look at some contracts. We have $500,000 to spend, and while we could um, do what we want with it, just want to check if there are any contracts that are exceptionally useful. Ooh, an orbit of carbon. That's not that bad, actually, even if it is a little ways out. Moon on the moon, mountains, deserts, grassland, the geology. Hmm. Hmm. cold ocean. Ocean high in space, low in space, landed. That is multiple missions to pull it off. You are not, well, you could do it in one, but you're not doing that in one. Splash down in the mountains. You gotta be able to do it, dude. Sorry, didn't mean to cancel your contract. I gotta see if there's like a lake or something in a mountain around here. Granted, I can't do the contract now because I hit the wrong button. Meant to hit the close out button, not the close out the contract button. Of course, we are facing the wrong way. Let's speed up time just a little bit. Maybe there. Let's check, see what kind of stuff we got running. Because science is going to be our friend. It's one of our easiest ones. Fundraising makes sense. Goody. Literally worth no funding. Apparently reputation. I commit 50% of my reputation. Doesn't pay a lot more, but it does pay a little bit more. That's nice. Okay. Well, let's see what places we have. We are kind of ready for Duna, so what I'm gonna do is take a peek at the cost of our heavy radar satellite. And see if we can afford it now. Okay. Says we can afford it. We can afford it. I do know I have to fix the staging though. I just realized, even though I didn't quite see it down there, but every time I use a heavy lift, the staging is not accurate. Yep. Okay. That seems better actually. ever. That and toss that up there. Here and fix our scent. Orbit of 150 seems acceptable to me. 0 inclination. 1, 2, 3. And we are away. Hopefully we'll get away from our broken textures and we will get moving. If I cannot find a good solution, we will be removing the parallax mod again, because while it's not causing an issue here, I just realized it's firing the extra engine. And that, my friends, is one of those things of I told myself to check the staging, and foolishly I assumed that the only thing that would be wrong would be the fairing. Reminder to everyone, check yo staging. Yep. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Now, yes, I know that is relatively blunt for a nose on it, but not a lot I can do about it at this stage, as we are not reloading just to fix a slight aerodynamic issue. Especially with a rocket with this much power, it should not be a problem. I do like that that's now showing a little bit more information. Okay. Burn with the sun. See, 4, 3, 2, 1. That never gets old. It behaves so well. You're almost at our peak. Comes the wobble, because of course it does. Then again, because it's time warping when it really doesn't need to be. Come on. There we go. Hopefully it'll get straightened out and we can get okay. Now I'm not 100% sure, but I believe his wobble should end as soon as that. There we go. Now we have plenty of fuel for doing this. What I need to do though is come here, set up, master it to 100, update, close, and let's see what kind of constellations. The inner backbone. Creation. A lot of these have a very specific configuration. Like the Hokos, or whatever it's called, are going to be pushing the heaviest. Get you to 200. There we go. Update. And that should be good for right this second. Should give us plenty of communication capabilities. Let's go to our Perry apps. Bring it up. 3K. Adjustments. Boom. 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 Okay. Tell it to execute that node. Now again, crazy wobble, because no idea. I limit you to 10. Still gonna wobble. There you go. Of course, this is gonna mess up just about everything. As you can see, our inclination is getting jumbled from it. Okay, good enough. Now, circularize at next apoapse. Create it. Good. Say 15-second burn. Good enough. Auto warp is acceptable maneuver. And as you can see, this has control of everything. Just automatic. Very little issues. Hopefully, we'll be able to get something up to Duna using it. Now, might have to keep hoping the wobble. But these things? Yeah, okay. So that might be what I'm putting on the deep space Duna probe. Just to see if I can give us something with oomph without having to go as crazy as this. Because one of these, while I believe it would be possible to get to Duna, I don't know if it would be practical. Especially not at the price tag. The thing I want to send to Duna, at least in the beginning, I want it to be small. I want it to be so small, it just existing there will be more than enough. Electricity is going insane. There we go. That's relatively stabilized. Let's do a quick save, because what we're about to do is do a separation. Let this separate out from it. It does have quite an extensive amount of fuel and capability. I want you to look nominal. Look prograde right now because we are still not quite far enough away from that. No, 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 no. Set them all back, please. There we go. Thankfully that didn't. Well, since we are going into the action group anyway to adjust the engines. Toggle. Four is going to be toggle. 5 is going to be shut that down. 8, 6 is going to be shut down. Activate. Big fast engine for now. Set that nominal plus. Thing up and running. Kill the rotation. And now it should be fine. Power seems to be more than acceptable for what this thing is doing. Go over to this. This has a interesting path, but because I would think it would just pick up the extra signal from there, but guess not. Prepare to look retrograde. Time to apps is quite a few, so we're going to carefully get you turned around, and then we will warp a little closer. Apps make it so that even though we have it doesn't really matter. All right, engine up. Because at least on a technical level, it is more than able to shut itself down. Even if it is going at a big ol' wonk. So, back to Space Center. And let us try and look at making a new Duna probe. We'll make a quick save. Make a overriding quick save. And then we'll come here. And what we're going to do is we're going to give it a couple communication capabilities, but for now, we just need a proof of concept probe. Oh. Because it's going to be so small, it is going to be powered by ion. We will go heavy, though, in the ion fuel. Reason for that is where we're sending it, we want to make sure that we have plenty of capabilities adjusting. Especially if we decide we want to, I don't know, push it into one of the moon orbits or something of that nature. We want to make sure we have the fuel to do it. The other thing this thing will need is the power. Now, we do not want anything that cannot retract, and the reason for that, because even though I can go like this and go hoo-hoo, and get some really pretty panels, one, that's more space station-y. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, that's definitely going to be, probably a new module added to the space station, because holy heck. That looks exactly what you want on a space station. And, oh, that is adorable. Not at all what I thought it was. I thought it was big rollouts. For one, make sure they do not collide. So, we're going to go to structural, and we are going to add some trusses to help separate it out. Cool. The other thing trusses allow me to do is have places to put batteries. Let me click on this. There we go. That's a much better look for it. We also want to bring it in. Yeah, now they can't hit each other, but they do look like they belong. I think we're gonna have a thermal issue, but for no. Honestly, I don't think I'm gonna have a heat issue, just looking at it. That is insane. Bon? Oop. That is funny. Okay, we don't really need those. We're not running anything too crazy right now. Maybe later. Honestly, this is most of what we need, but we also want to come over here and grab... Where'd they go? Guys? Set it to extend. That looks great. Question is, what does it look like retracted? Actually, that's not bad. Get it? Like that. It's not perfect, but it looks really good. I don't think there's anything that can push beyond that, at least not right now. Let's pair with a large reflector. I don't have any of those right now. They're cool, but they don't do the thing I need them to do, so... Second. So this one specifically says it can go beyond Duna. Now, that I have a bit of an issue with. But we will, for the sake of doing this right, of course. Now, in theory, when these are extended, very, very well set. I do want to make sure they're as far up, though, as possible. That way they are not interfering with these. It. Grab it. This looks to be it. this is the majority of the payload. Let me go to command and control, because it does not matter how good I want it to behave if it just doesn't. Easiest way to make sure it does is to toss some control systems on it. And thankfully, these control systems actually give me a little bit more space to work with. Come here to a mech jeb. While I believe... Huh. Yeah. Well, I believe we should be able to be fine. I do want to toss the mech jeb on there. While I kind of personally want to put some science on there, I do know that that's not the whole point of this. The whole point of this is to give it just something. Like right now, this is far more expensive than I intended it to be on its own, so this is where we're cutting it off. The next part of this we're gonna do, and this is the part that's gonna be a bit of a pain. We have to take a coupling. That there. And come all the way down here to payload. And see, we're gonna need a decent sized payload system if we want to keep it realistic. Nice, but not really what I need. I need the controllable type, and I believe that is it. So we are going quite big. Now we are intentionally going to scoop that down. It's the one thing I don't like about these. Just because I honestly cannot forgive them for being this massive, I guess the term would be. Send. Okay. Retract. That. Get rid of it. perfect, but it is doing better. In fact, it is doing a lot better by being there. Because now I can take this, center it, pull it back. We'll just pretend that like this is welded on or something. And we'll pretend that it's not going to clip through immediately when we tell it, hey, I need you to extend. Now we should be able to get away with a exceptionally smaller fairing. There we go. Simple, compact. We are going to be doing another heavy lift. That's just standard by now. However, what is not standard, we're going to take the heavy lift and move it over here, is we're going to add an intermediate stage. And this intermediate stage is going to be designed basically to behave like a Duna lander. Is it gonna work? Who knows? Is it gonna look good doing it though? Absolutely. So, when the fairing and all this blows off, we want to have some kind of control behind it. Right now, that control, as you can see, not great. I think we'll use that, and then we will pull the other units that go connected to it into it. Worry about power in a moment. What other units? I think we're worried about putting a payload unit on it. See, that looks nice. Okay, I can work with that. That actually is an amazing little thing. Gives me a little bit of everything. Throw my Geb on the inside. So it is weird that it's like, hey, you can't place it inside, but that is what movement systems are for. The other thing we're going to do, at least for right now, is grab our standard a 4-pack. We're going to toss it right there. Now, the other thing I want to make sure of is that we do not run low on battery. So, there. That is very heavily set. Hmm. Oh, that's a problem. We want relative, not absolute. Thank you. Okay. That. Now, I'm gonna put some solar panels right there, just because this part should not require that much. Close that because we will not need it. Come back to our fives. Grab something with our mass compensation. The weird 2.5 vacuum. We're looking at 300 sky crane. Definitely have to look at that. Medium duct fan. Don't know if that's really going to be a thing we need. 450, that's quite nice. Now you might be the snowstorm. Nope, 461 for the RD 122. Yeah, because if I come up here to normal engines, that's just not even worth my time. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. I don't even think that's gonna give me the information I need. Yeah. 3, 3. That's why these are using the breakers. Where is it? Where is it? I know it's here somewhere. Yeah. This guy right here. Still only pushing 3. Even if I go here, at best, I'm looking at 317. So, we're going to come down here, grab our 361. And throw that on. Put a nice little shroud on it. And while the thrust is not as high as the, where is it? Oh, those are, yeah, while the thrust is not as high, the ISP is so much better. And we're not going to need an insane amount of thrust for what we're doing. What we will do, though, is come to our couplings, because we do want engine shrouds. Want the engine plate to match that, so that we can put that there and have something that at least looks good. That puts everything inside. I don't like that. So we will go for the extra long. Boop. Tack you there and bring the whole thing up. Now, I just realized we can't afford this rocket, which is a pain, to say the least. But thankfully, we can come here, come on, and fix a lot of this. Who is getting, put you there. Ration plates. Okay, which one of you is? Boom. That there. Good. That, put it down in there. Good. Now, because we are very heavy on the mass. According to this, we have exactly 100 meters per second, which means that the whole thing's basically wobbled out. And I'm not gonna know until I get the whole thing into an actual launch profile, which is a problem in and of itself, but is a problem that we are looking to solve. We're looking to solve it in a very nice way. Well, we're going to take this off. Here, we need the biggest legs we can find. And those would be them. Wow, that is crazy. Yeah. Start retracted because you absolutely have to. And now our kind of piece de resistance is going to be a bunch of drogue. And a bunch of normals. And in theory, when we separate this whole thing out, okay, these parachutes are getting messed up now. Boom, because we want them engaged before we put this thing on a re-entry burn. Do you want to give it a good comm unit, even though there's not going to be a lot of things for it to communicate with out here? Hopefully this catches enough of it. Mark 1 Duna Comsat. Now we will save it for now, just because given what I know about it, I don't anticipate us getting to use it this session, this video, as you will. Let's take a peek, see what kind of missions we have available to us. Hopefully, something simple. Wait, correctly. To the waypoint, cool, crude, pilot. Spec, site survey, X-ray. What? We're gonna take it, and we're gonna check where it is, and we might just do a space plane mission this time. Because while I could do ICBM style and just and drop it, I want to see where they want this mission done. Neat. So it's actually not that bad. That is a lot easier to do than I thought. I thought I was gonna have to fly all over the place. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna build an aircraft that can do it. We have a few aircraft that are capable. We're probably going to look to make some modifications, slim it down, maybe add a secondary cockpit to something depending on which model we go with. Take a peek. Open. Let's go with a jump jet. Jump jet Mark 1. open the jump jet Mark II. Not mistaken, it should be more than capable of getting to where we want to go. Does have the necessary parachutes. Ever. Do that. We're also going to come into the action groups. Custom group 1, 2, 3. Toggle and switch modes. Custom action group 5, which is going to be our emergency systems. Going to deploy, 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 and deploy. We should not need it, but if we do, it will be there. We're going to set it up so that when we are stopping, we might only need this staging. The next piece of equipment we're going to need is actually a bit of a silly thing to not have right, but it wouldn't be us if it was working the way we wanted. Okay. Click on that. I'm going to make a second one. And that should, in theory, make it so that they are less likely to fall off the aircraft when they get out to do their science. The other thing we need to do is come to our science. Check which ones we have. Aquatic sample. X-ray litho. We'll actually put it on the belly. Why not? Nice survey image. Mass back theory in a moment. It will reduce that down to a list of things, instruments, ozone, infrared, Okay. Yeah, I really wish they were a little quad pole mass spectrometer. Okay, for now, I'm gonna put that there. And we're gonna check some X-ray. In theory, that should be enough to shorten this quite substantially. Or not. Or it is considered so broad that it cannot be found. Hmm. Go to the instruments and see if we can find it. Well, some point I will learn, just cosmic ray. Nope. Yeah, just delete it and go to science. Fortunately, this does look like it's going to be one of those things where we're just rolling till we find it. Okay. Hopefully this does reduce it. Radio field. And the One thing that kind of irks me a little bit is finding what does what is not easy. Case, even if it is doing the same. And this is thing that drives me insane. Like I wish. Let me see if I have it. Cute. Why can't I just click it and get what I need? Spectrum miscellaneous again. EM spectrum visible light. I am a fool. We already had it, and y'all probably sitting there watching the playback going, he is completely missing the fact that he's already put it on the aircraft. Yep. Okay, and we know where the site imager is. Site survey image. So we're going to do this, but we're also going to look for other cameras. Telescope. Red and ultraviolet. Take there. Now, it is a bit of a problem having these things like that, but we will probably be tucking it into a closed system. First and foremost, we want to make sure that's nope. Okay, I think that is everything. Now all we need to do is put it in a case. Don't like that. Good enough. You've all now become torpedoes, because apparently that is just what it is. Nope, not perfect, but doesn't have to be. Just has to fit inside so that I can close. Come on. This up. And now it's a little bit better on the aerodynamics of the aircraft. Next, we need to go to our crew. Sorry, Bill, you don't get to go. We do have a scientist on board. At the waypoint. Okay. This is now a Mark III, and this is the Psi variant. We have 20 minutes, and I can tell you right now, as fast as this aircraft is, it is not going to be fast enough to get to the mission objective. It is unfortunate, but it is not that fast. Like, I could strap a rocket to it and launch it from the pad, but it would be a very massive waste of time. Also, I realize that that is going to get very, very irritating. Honestly, not going to worry about the aircraft autopilot. What we're going to do is go here, activate navigation to there, up. Get us going a little straighter down the runway. Get our speed up. Come on. Okay. Bring the gear in. According to this, it's going to be almost an hour flight. So, we're definitely going to be looking at trying to reduce that quite substantially. Okay, I really should make sure, yeah, that either gimbaling on 0, because having the external engines do the gimbaling is good enough for most things. We do not want to be in a sinking heading. We're looking at a heading of 40. Let's see if that works. Set, hold, engage. Vertical speed. Please start going vertical. Thank you. Don't worry about holding the altitude because that obviously is not going to be useful to me. At least now heading in the right direction. However, we have 15 minutes left, and at our current speed, we are not going to make it. So, let's see if we can our vertical speed a little lower. We zero this out, it's probably gonna come quite a bit lower, but this should be fine. Bank angle, we will lock you in at 10. Hold a speed of about 300. Just because I don't think you can do more than that. And nice gentle turn. I do like, see, the instant I do altitude hold, everything goes out the window. But if I tell it to just maintain a vertical speed, we're fine. I think that's going to be the solution for getting there in a reasonable, safe time. Again, we are not going anywhere near as fast as we could be going. If I strapped a rocket to it and dropped it, we'd probably make it in time, but we'd also be trying to burn off that speed and would be using this, at which point just building an ICBM would have worked almost as well. Because if we build an ICBM with a little car attached to the end, just basically it would touch down, drop the car, they would get out, get on the car, and drive it over. Of course, our experiment is sitting there yelling at us. The other thing is making sure that the information as well also. I saw that. Okay, they're good for the entirety of that mission. And this isn't going to be a 3-day mission, we're just flying across the world. Let us increase our verticals. Just because we do have some hills coming up, and we don't want to skim that close. It is going to reduce our speed quite substantially, but we can work with that. See, the problem with holding altitude is I believe it holds the altitude based off of the ground. And as you can see, the ground is not really doing great. Like, I might be able to get away with this. But what's going to happen is when we get to these hills, it is going to get wibbly. Yeah, just watch. Hey, let's increase altitude. Just because we got mountains coming up. And as you can see, it is doing it at a very slow set. So we're gonna lock it in, zeroed out. Should help us for quite a while. Don't worry about holding speed. We're gonna see if we can push the speed quite a bit. Altitude hold, bring us down to 1,000. This deviation up to 10 degrees. Should allow for a much faster approach. 25 degrees, which is quite a lot. But as we get closer to the surface, we will be going faster. The air intakes on this will be going insane. You know, our biggest issue is we are burning a lot of fuel. Okay. That is a lot, but we should be able to switch once we get under 11. Good enough now because we were doing 700, which does bring us to a time frame where we will make it in time. Gonna cut back on the afterburners for a little bit. Now our biggest issue is going to be the mountain range. And in theory, by offsetting by this little amount, we should actually A, reduce how much of the amount we're going over, but B, get that speed up quite a bit, because we lost a lot of it doing that. Sorry buddy, you're gonna be doing a crazy low skim. However, I will double your adjustments. Uh, 3,000, set it. You can do 30. Because right now, unfortunately, yes, our timer did reset, but the other problem is you're getting way too close to getting clipped. We're gonna build up in the climb. And we are gonna bring ourselves back down on a very speedy descent. Doesn't at least look odd to me, but it works, it works. Thankfully, we are building speed quite quickly. Does mean we're gonna burn through our fuel, but fortunately, it does mean we are also very likely to be over time for this mission. Hope we can keep our speed up. Go to 5,000 feet. You can do 75 meters per second on your climb. It is going to hurt our altitude or our speed, but if you maintain the burn, you should be good. Here we go. Turns out I was not in the optimal atmosphere for it. Let this continue its rate. We'll see if we keep getting speed increases as we go. Uh, 8,000, set, go. This is also going to be a quick way to test to see if it's basing it off of the actual from sea altitude, which I'm hoping it does, or if it's basing it off of this. And I think it's based off the sea. Based off how quickly the aircraft is moving. We have a little over a minute left of our time, and that is what our ETA says, so we might be doing just a very, very hard parachute down. Okay, let us get out of that. Disengage the autopilot. And bring her down. Engines, because as you can see, really don't need them. Okay. Like our ground altitude are in what some would classify the danger zone. Start pulling up. First parachutes out. Total parachutes out, and we are on the way down. Engines off. Off the SAS. Do want to make sure that we are cutting chutes so that we can land in a relatively safe fashion. Okay. A little faster than I want, but we are going to be landing. I was going to say relatively flat, but wouldn't consider that relatively flat. The question is, toggle the brakes, and I tell it, hey, perform. Play all except EVA. Right, survey image. Okay. Great. Cover it. And yes, we are 3 minutes over. And yes, we have dealt with the dancing purple lights. Not dealt with, but we survived the dancing purple lights because coming down, I honestly could not see the ground because of it, which is a massive issue I'm gonna have to get dealt with. It might just require us getting rid of the one thing again, but that does give us the research we need. Get that taken care of. One thing I do want to check before we go, I know, overtime, but I just gotta find out, can I increase the airflow of the air intakes using R&D? You can. Okay, that might be a thing for the future for making very, very air intake heavy aircraft. Alright, everyone. It is unfortunately that time. We wait until the Space Center shows back up. And then we will be saying goodbye. Alright, everyone. Have a good night. Watch out for the purple. And take it easy.